Shooting sports and activities can be a lot of fun, but it can also be challenging to capture. Fortunately, your Nikon D5100 has all kinds of high-performance features to help you capture dramatic action shots. Whenever I arrive at a sporting event, the first thing I like to do is just check out the scene. I usually try to arrive a little early. This gives me a chance to scope out the best angles, find the direction of the light, and see what I have to work with in the background. Another benefit of arriving early is that you can usually catch some practice sessions. This gives you a chance to observe the caliber of the athletes and study their techniques. A little knowledge of the sport or event you're shooting can be incredibly helpful. The more that you can anticipate the action, the better your chances of capturing that pivotal moment. And remember, the goal is to tell the story of the event and the participants. And the best way to do that is to understand what you're shooting. Let's take a few moments to go through the basic setup of the Nikon D5100 to optimize it for shooting fast-moving action. First, let's set the mode dial to sports mode. Sports mode will automatically set the camera to a fast shutter speed so that you can more effectively freeze the action. It will also disable the built-in flash so that you don't disturb the athletes. And sports mode will do one more thing, and that's set the camera to continuous shooting, up to 4 frames per second for as long as you hold down the shutter release. This way you have the best chance of capturing that pivotal moment. And because you're going to be taking a lot of images, I recommend having a few extra SD cards handy, especially when you're shooting sports. Sports mode automatically adjusts the camera's focus setting to Auto Area AF. Auto Area AF means that when I press the shutter release halfway, the camera tracks the motion and automatically focuses on the moving subject. This also uses a feature called predictive focus tracking, which actually tracks a fast-moving subject in the frame to ensure that it remains in focus when the shutter release is pressed. Not bad. Okay, let's talk about lens selection. Now, down here at courtside, the lens that came with your camera, the 18-55 VR, works great. It'll allow you to get some great framing possibilities and make it very easy to follow the players as they move around the court. Now, because they're still practicing, it's possible for me to get awesome shots that I will not be able to get once the match starts. And by using the live view and the vari-angle display, I can check out my framing even from really low angles, like this. Nice. I really like the composition of this shot. The way that your eye is drawn down the one side with the net, with the player on the other side. I'm using a very simple rule of composition called the rule of thirds, which simply means that I'm dividing the screen into thirds, both horizontally and vertically, like a tic-tac-toe board. And then I place the important parts of the image at the intersection points, like the net and the player. The rule of thirds is a great way to create interesting compositions, and if you talk to almost any professional photographer, they'll tell you that they use the rule of thirds all the time, usually without even thinking about it. Looks like they've started their match, so I've moved up here to be out of the way. I've also switched to my 55 to 300 millimeter zoom lens. A zoom lens like this really helps isolate the subject from the background, and I really like the framing options I get with a lens like this. Some of these shots really capture the action really well, but everything seems frozen in time. The player, the racket, the ball. Sometimes the creative use of motion blur can really help capture the dynamic nature of a sport. For instance, on this shot, if there was just a little bit of blurring around the racket and the ball, I think it would be even better. To get this effect, I need to be able to control the shutter speed. And the best way to do that is to just switch the dial to S for shutter priority mode. Shutter priority will allow me to control the shutter speed, while the camera automatically adjusts the aperture for a proper exposure. The slower the shutter speed, the more motion blur in the image. Now, don't confuse blur with focus. We still want the image to be in focus. The best way to do that is to follow the player as closely as we can, keeping him in the same part of the frame. Now, it takes a little trial and error to figure out which shutter speed will work best for you. We're going to start by using the slowest speed that will work in this light, about 1/60th of a second. Let's try a shot and see what we get. All right, well, that's not bad, but I think there's too much blur in the overall image. Let's try kicking it up a notch to 1/250th of a second, see what that does for us. Ah, much better. See how his face is nice and sharp while his arm and the racket are slightly blurred? It gives the image a great sense of action and movement. Okay, so this location presents a whole new set of challenges. The first thing I notice is the quality of the light. I'm using my SB700 speedlight flash along with my 10 to 24 millimeter wide-angle zoom. Using a flash will let me really freeze the action, and by bouncing the flash, it'll help soften the light. So what are your options when you don't want to use a flash, like during a competition? Well, your D5100 has another trick up its sleeve. It's called Auto ISO. ISO is a rating of the sensitivity of the sensor. The higher the ISO number, the less light you need to get a proper exposure. This camera goes all the way from ISO 100 to an amazing 6400. Auto ISO means that your D5100 will automatically adjust the ISO when required, and that means that you can get the types of shots you want, even in low light, with some great results. Your Nikon D5100 has an incredible white balance system built right in that instantly analyzes the color temperature of the light and then automatically determines the right white balance, making everything look correct, especially skin tones. But if you want to take over a little creative control or maybe just try for a different look, you can set the white balance in real time. First, select P for Programmed Auto. Now set the white balance control using the Assign FN button within the Custom Setting menu. To see the white balance change, turn on Live View, and then press the FN button on the side of the camera while rotating the command dial. Now you can cycle through a few different white balance settings, which you can actually see right here on the monitor, allowing you to choose a look that you like.